Okay, good evening. It is now 6:30 on Tuesday, May the 12th. I'm going to call this meeting of the Board of Pataskala Zoning Appeals to order. Would you please rise and join me in the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Lisa, can we have the roll, please?
Mr. Coleman.
Here.
Mr. Cooper.
Here.
Mr. Janderin.
Here.
Ms. Pierce. Mr. Luzader.
Here. All right, we have 4 members of the board present, so we do have a quorum for the night. And I see we have no old business as to take care of for today.
Correct.
So let's go right into new business. Use variance application VA 26-005. Jack.
Of course. So the location of this is at 4210 Main Street Southwest. Total acreage of the parcel is just over 15 and a half. It's currently zoned rural residential. The applicant is requesting approval of a use variance pursuant to section 1211.07B of the Pataskala Code to allow for the establishment of a wireless telecommunications facility within a zoning district in which it is not a permitted use. So if you look up here, this is the parcel in question, this triangular upside down triangle here. To the east, we have Mink Street. On the southern tip here is Cable Road, and this whole area over here is the Licking Heights Local School District campus. So again, the property is just over 15 and a half acres in size with 2 frontages, Mink Street to the east, Cable Road to the south. It's currently occupied by a former agricultural building that was built around 1960, as well as a shared access to the adjacent parcel, the Licking Heights Middle School. So the proposal is to construct a new wireless telecommunications facility, that being a 150-foot tall and height monopole tower of gray galvanized steel. That'll be 168 feet from the front property line on Mink, over 335 feet from the south property line on Cable, over 1,200 feet from the north side property line, and 49 feet 9 inches from the west rear property line. On this tower is going to be 1 platform at 145 feet above ground level, as well as the possibility for 2 additional platforms on 130 and 115 feet if needed in the future. Here's a look at the proposed monopole tower. So 150 feet in height. There is a 4-foot tall lightning rod on top of that. So the proposal is to construct that new wireless telecommunications facility. It's going to be set on a 60 by 60 foot lease area. Within that, it's going to be 3 30-foot by 12-foot equipment lease areas, surrounded by a 6-foot chain link fence with 1 foot of barbed wire on top, 26 evergreen trees, 6 feet in height on the north, east, and south faces on the exterior of the proposed fence, as well as a gravel paved surface area and drive leading to Mink Street. Here's kind of a overall look at the parcel. You can see it's kind of located here on the southern part, south of that old barn. And then here's kind of a closer look at the lease area. So we can see the tower here, ground equipment areas, the exterior fence with evergreen trees on the north, east, and south sides. So pursuant to section 1293.04, wireless telecommunications facilities are only conditional uses in the PRO, DB, LB, GB, M1, and PM zoning districts. Those are all the commercial and industrial zoning districts in the city. They are not permitted in any residential zoning districts. The proposed location is within the RR Rural Residential Zoning District. As such, the applicant has requested a use variance to allow for it. According to the narrative submitted by the applicant stated that Verizon Wireless has identified a gap in coverage, and that there were no existing towers of sufficiently tall structures within the search area that would be able to alleviate that coverage gap. So the applicant believes a new tower is necessary. They did reach out to 14 property owners in the area. However, ultimately the Licking Heights Local School District agreed to allow for a ground lease to locate the tower there. Here's a coverage map that was submitted by the applicant. So this dot right here, Meta South. This is the current versus the proposed coverage area with the new tower. The applicant also said they believe the request will not have adverse effects on adjacent users of the property, that the tower is designed at the minimum height necessary to fill the existing gap in coverage. They also say that they believe there are no existing towers or structures within the vicinity that could fill the coverage gap, and that an alternative technology such as a DIS system would not have practical application in a rural area. They also believe that the existing tree lines will screen the tower from nearby properties, particularly on the west side of that lease area. Here's some renderings that the applicant submits. This is the existing view at the intersection of Mink Street and Cable Road, Mink Street being off to our right here, and with the proposed tower. And this is looking south on Mink Street with the proposed tower over here. So as part of our review, staff would offer the following comments. Again, 1293-04 states that wireless telecommunication facilities are only permitted in commercial and industrial zonings. The proposed site is in the rural residential zoning district, therefore it's not permitted. As such, they have requested a use variance pursuant to section 1211.07B. If approved, it would consider the requested use to be a permitted use on the specific property for which it has been requested. Section 1293.08 of the code lays out the general requirements that such facilities shall meet. They are compliant with the majority of those, excepting 1293.08C, which states that buffer planting shall be located around the perimeter of the security fence as deemed appropriate by the Board of Zoning Appeals. Such screen shall be continuous hedge 3 foot on center or evergreen trees at a max of 6 feet on center. So they went with the 6 foot evergreens on the northeast and south side. However, they're proposing to use the existing tree line to the west as screening that is allowable if the Board of Zoning Appeals deems it is appropriate to provide sufficient screening. Section 1293.08L states a tower shall be set back a minimum of 110% of the tower height from all property lines. In this case, height does not include any lightning arrest devices, so the proposed tower is 150 feet above ground level. Therefore, the required setback would be 165 feet. However, it is only 49 feet 9 inches from the west property line, so an area variance would be required from this as well. Both properties are under common ownership, however, but they are separate individual lots. Did not receive any comments from any other departments or agencies. For surrounding properties to the north, we have a mix of rural residential and R87. That's the Licking Heights Local School District campus and single-family homes. To the east, we have R87, which is single-family homes and agriculture, which is agricultural use. To the south and west are rural residential, which are used for agriculture, and the further area of the school district campus. There are your findings of fact for an area variance. They're also printed in your staff report there. In addition to those factors mentioned above, pursuant to section 1211.07B, the following additional factors shall be considered when determining whether a use variance is warranted. That's the intent factors below to prevent the property owner from attempting to request a use variance rather than engaging in the rezoning process. A, applicant owner created the alleged hardship. B, the board finds that the application is primarily made for the purpose of convenience or profit. Or C, a substantial ground offered in support of an application for a use variance is the existence of other non-conforming use of non-conforming use of neighboring lands, structures, or buildings in the same district or other zoning districts. So should the board choose to approve the applicant's request, the following conditions may be considered. The applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala within 1 year of the date of approval. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Questions for staff?
Is the school campus part of the residential zoning district?
I believe the majority of it is zoned rural residential. There might be some other residential zonings on the west side, closer to Summit.
Are we concerned any at all about line of sight at Cable and Mink with the where the tower's going to be, like with the trees line being put in there and everything?
No, it shouldn't have an
Well,
issue with that.
okay.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of far away from the intersection.
So I'm trying to find, in the digital copy of the report, I had read something conflicting, that the school board did approve it, which I see in the lease agreement. But I also read in the report that they did not approve it. And if that's my error, awesome, but which is,
So in the staff report, I don't think we mentioned whether or not the school board approved it, because they signed off on the application. That might be in the application documents that were submitted by the applicant, so you might want to direct that.
There is one that says they approached the school board, but we're not interested, but we did get the lease agreement, and then the representative of Licking Heights Local Schools did sign it, so we're taking that as indication that they're okay with this moving forward.
so there is a,
There's an agreement in here.
Yeah.
From the board, yep.
yeah, okay.
Any other questions for staff? Do we have a representative from APC Towers here?
Yes,
Hi,
hello.
hi.
My
And
name is Tanya.
yes, thank you. If you get your name and be sworn in by
I'm going to
Lisa.
swear you in.
Okay.
Raise your hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
And then your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Tanya Rogers. I live at 3047 Helen Place in Canton, Ohio.
Thank you.
I'm here on behalf of APC Towers. Your staff did a really great job going over all of that. Generally, I have to do all of that when we go before a board, so that made it very easy for me. I did want to clarify one thing before I get started. The school district was approached initially. We had two different site acquisition firms approach different landowners. The first time the school district was approached, they were not interested. The second time, they agreed to a lease agreement. So I understand that that's where the lack of clarity comes in. They were approached again a second time. They agreed to a lease agreement, and that is what is before you and what was executed last summer.
Thanks.
All right, so I'm here today with Abigail Johnson. She's the Director of Development for APC Towers, as well as Scott Hubble. He's the Vice President of Strategic Development. He's also our wireless expert. He previously worked with Verizon for a number of years. And just kind of a really brief overall of that very lengthy packet that I submitted is that Verizon identified a gap in coverage some time ago. And what that is that their existing towers are meeting capacity. So pretty soon they're going to be over capacity. So they need to offload some of that. And so they need a new antenna somewhere. And they identified a location where they need a new antenna to be able to continue having good coverage for their customers. And that antenna area is in the northern part of your city where everything is zoned rural resident, or not rural residential, but residential of some kind. And so first they identified a search ring. I don't have the exact page number on me, but if you looked through there were some reports that showed little rings over different maps. The first one, the school district was right in that one. And so Verizon worked with two different companies, one called Telcad, the other one I believe is called RJP. And so they approached different landowners in that initial ring. And that's the ideal location for the tower. And they couldn't get anyone to agree to a lease agreement. So they tried to expand the ring to see if there's anything else that they could work out. They approached more landowners, no one was interested. So they went back to the original search ring because that was the ideal location to begin with. And that's where they ended up getting the lease agreement with the school district. And so that's how the lease agreement came about. APC Towers is involved to get all of the necessary permitting and construction to actually construct the tower. And then Verizon will be a tenant on the tower. And then as indicated in that drawing up there, there will be room for two more leasees, so other wireless providers. And that would basically eliminate any need for any other towers to be built right in that region because there's already one that other carriers can go to. And so that's how the location was identified. And so when APC got into zoning, they saw that a cell tower is only permitted as a conditionally permitted use in your business or commercial districts. But unfortunately, none of those were even close to the area where Verizon needs a new antenna. And so that is why we are here today. Our options were to either rezone the property, which that the school district was on, but none of your zoning classifications made any sense for the school district in that area. A lot of them required certain thoroughfares or certain proximity to other things, and so none of the zoning classifications would be logical for APC to come forward and request a zone change. And so our other option was to pursue a use variance, and so that is why we are here today. I want to make clear at the outset that building a new tower is never a first resort for Verizon. It is extremely expensive and it is extremely time consuming. As you can see from the record, that Verizon's been working on getting this tower for over 2 years already. And it could well be well over another year before a tower is built and operating. And so they identified a gap in coverage 3 years ago. It's only getting worse. And so if there was another tall structure or building or location for an antenna, they would have already done that. In my letter, I go through a lot the Telecommunications Act. It's the Telecommunications Act of 1996. We call it the TCA, and that is to regulate wireless carriers. Most of the regulations in the TCA are for wireless carriers themselves. There is one section called Section 332 that has a safe harbor provision that allows local entities to have some zoning regulation, but then a few exceptions to that safe harbor. And one of them is that local zoning legislation or decisions will be in violation of the TCA if they have the effect of a ban on personal wireless service. And so for a new antenna, the bar is much lower for the TCA. So that's why just putting a new antenna on an existing structure is much faster, much cheaper, and much easier. So if that was an option here, Verizon would have done that, but it's not. So they have to go through with the tower. And so that is part of the reason, or that's really one of our primary arguments of why we can meet their use variance criteria here, because there is nowhere else in that area where we can get a conditional use permit for a tower to fill that gap in coverage. So I went through in my application letter, all the tower requirements are in your ordinance, section 1293. So in my letter, pages 4 to 8, I go through how our tower complies with those requirements. And I can go through them now with you and see if you have any questions, or I don't know if you can print them in advance. I'm not sure which approach you want me to do. Some entities want me to go through the whole letter. Some have already read it and just have a few questions, so I'll defer to you on that.
We have had the report
Okay.
given to us in previous, so we don't have to go through it. If we have questions,
Okay,
we'll ask you
great.
for it. Yeah.
All right. We had initially applied for a conditional use application as well, because that's generally how the towers are granted in this community. But we spoke with your staff and they indicated that was not necessary, so I will skip over that part. And then we also go through all of the elements for a variance, which is in chapter 11 of your codified ordinances. And that is where the findings of fact are, to find practical difficulties. That's for the area variance. So how yours is set up is you have to meet all of the practical difficulty requirements and then also determine undue hardship. So I'll just move to undue hardship because that's a higher burden. Our argument that I kind of already went over is that Verizon has to fill this gap in coverage. And if you look at your zoning map, you will see the entire northern portion of your city does not have any zoning classifications that would allow for a tower to be constructed without a use variance. And so Verizon cannot fill this gap in coverage, and this leased area will have no value if a use variance is not granted. Again, it's not made for convenience. One of your requirements is that the application is primarily made for convenience. That would be a reason to deny it. Here, this is not for convenience. This is a very long process. It's not as though Verizon could build in one of the commercial or business areas and just doesn't want to. It's not as though they just had a certain property owner in mind that they wanted to work with. Here, the record shows that they went to about 14 different property owners to try to secure a lease. And then again, if there was an alternative means to just stick an antenna somewhere, they would do that because it would be much cheaper and much faster. And then the other bullet point you have in your ordinances is that there is substantial ground to show that this the existence of other non-conforming uses in the area demonstrate that it won't be too out of the normal. And here again, the school district doesn't really fit in the residential zoning either. There are a lot of tall structures, there are athletic stadiums, there are other things that go with a school district that is non-conforming, and we understand why that's there. But that's also part of why we felt that the tower would be a good fit in that location. So I will open it up to any questions from you, and then I also have the APC representatives who are available, to give statements and take questions as well.
Thank you. Very thorough. Any questions for,
You said Verizon's required to fill the gap. Why?
Because they can't, serve their customers if they don't fill it.
It's been, there's been 2 years and there's there been a numerous amount of complaints about service in that area?
No, so when Verizon identifies a gap in coverage, it's actually a future gap in coverage, so they notice when their towers are meeting capacity. So a lot of times they'll see, okay, all these towers are at 70–80% capacity, and soon they will be at 100% capacity. When they reach that, they will start having significant outages. And so their goal is to have a new tower constructed before all the neighboring towers meet capacity, because then there will be significant disruptions.
So if I'm looking at this map here,
Mhm.
right? So
Yep.
looking around the area, I don't think there's a whole lot of development going on in there, and most of it's out in the perimeter of
Mhm.
the area that you're saying there's a gap. Is there opportunity to fill that? Sounds like you need to offload some load
Yeah,
onto a
I'm-
tower somewhere else, right? So you've got a ring, you got it offload it, and then is there an opportunity to offload it in another location, I guess is my question.
I can help touch on that, and
I need to swear you in, sir.
yep, have her say one, please.
You swear to affirm the testimony about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Your name and address, please.
All right, Scott Hubble, 8601 Six Forks Road, Raleigh, North Carolina. So I come from the carrier side. I was an RF engineer, actually for the applicant for a very long time, over 20 years. If you look at the map, what that's showing is the signal level. So this is the before map, and then if you can go to the next page, you can see that gap is filled in.
Mhm.
We call this a significant gap in coverage. Gap is defined in a few different ways. It's defined by coverage and it's defined by capacity. What happens in a network as it continues to grow, capacity grows, the demand grows, there's a school there. So we have to resolve for multiple different reasons. In this particular reason, there's a very low signal on the Verizon side. 1 bar, 2 bars, very unreliable from a capacity perspective, or from a coverage perspective. What happens is when you add capacity coverage, or capacity constraints to that, the coverage shrinks even further, because it's a matter of physics. The noise figure rises and the phones can't hear, the tower can't hear the phones as well. So the service inside of the school, I held a community engagement meeting about a month ago, end of March. Inside of the school, I couldn't use my phone. There was no reliable reception. We could understand how problematic that is. The call just goes to fast busy, right? And that's a real-time example of the gap in coverage. So that's primarily why Verizon has asked us to site a tower in this location. And there's, foreseeable growth here. The school is a big driver, and it shows up on what's called a top 10 list. The top 10 list is a priority list of where the network needs it the most. Verizon's investing, sometimes up to $1 million to build one of these towers, right? It's not, like you said, it's not something that they would ask us to build if it wasn't extremely necessary. So some of the things that also drive that necessity are the proliferation of wireless now. It's not a nice to have any longer, it's a must have. 90% of 911 calls come in over wireless. Imagine the school, something happens in the school, they try to make a call, the call doesn't go through, say it was denied, it's a catastrophic problem, and it doesn't get any better unless a carrier adds coverage. And this isn't just for Verizon. This is gonna likely have all 3 carriers. There used to be 4 or 5, but now there's 3. T-Mobile and AT are very likely to come in the near future once this is built. Because we use crowdsourced data to analyze the broader network, and we've analyzed T-Mobile and AT&T service in this area as well, and it's not good, right? So we anticipate them attaching as well. What's nice about this and building the structure to this height, this size, using a streamlined, well-adapted pole, when I looked at those pictures, it almost looked like another telephone pole from a distance being added. I understand that it's more significant in height, but just it really kind of conforms to the area. What's nice about it is it won't require multiple other structures because of the height, right? If we could build it at 40 feet, put it on top of a telephone pole, so close the gap in coverage, we would. We took the minimum height. There's RF engineering documentation from Verizon that talked about the specific heights and how they designed to cover the maximum coverage needed, the minimum height possible, right? So that's where this sits. it's an interesting dynamic, the world that we're living in, right? So as capacity, constraints happen, you can have the service denials, and with the coverage gap that exists there, in the buildings, you can have service denials, right? And that's what that green shows. That green shows where they're replacing and building coverage. That's a signal level map that really shows what your service would be like in a building as opposed to outside. Outside, you're on the street, it's a flat terrain, you can have a semi-reliable service as long as the capacity isn't overwhelmed. Once you overwhelm that capacity, then all bets are off as well. So this solves both of those problems. It adds coverage and it adds capacity.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
It was a thorough report, as you said.
Pretty thorough. My house is in that little white spot right there. Can you close that in a little bit?
100%. I'll turn the antenna a little bit.
Appreciate it. That'd be great. Thanks. Okay, thank you. If we have any other questions, we might call you back up. I appreciate it. Thank you. Do we have the speaker? Speak. Okay.
Catherine Baird. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Hi, thank you.
My name's Catherine Baird. I reside at 12461 Cable Road. And then I'm also here on behalf of Baird Ayrshire Farms, which owns property on the southeast corner adjacent to the proposed site. So we understand the need, obviously, for the Ford Tower, but we do have concerns about where it's being placed. We're concerned about the proposed cellular tower location due to the potential impact on the health, safety, and quality of life for the families who live nearby, especially the homes like right across the street. And then also right next to where they want to put it, there's also the school soccer field. So I have concerns about all the kids that are playing soccer, and with a low level of the radio frequency radiation that's given off by cell towers. My sister and nephew also reside right across the street from where the proposed cell tower is going to be, and I had a brother who died from brain cancer. So it is very impactful to me about cell towers and the radiation that they emit. Because the doctors did say that they thought the growth of his tumor was caused more by cell phone use and that radiation. So it impacts me a lot. So not just the health and safety of our families and our students, but it's also the devaluation of the property values. When you put a cell tower right across the street, it's going to reduce your property value. So I guess would any of you want a cell tower right across the street from where you live? I do understand that growth and technology are important, but we do have to balance with protecting students, families, and local property owners. I respectfully ask the board to carefully consider a safer and more appropriate location, perhaps one that I've read in different studies where they're at least 1,000 feet from any home, school, or school activity field. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Don't respond.
We'll wait till all the public comments.
Oh, is there more? Oh, sorry.
Mark Van Buren.
Didn't realize there were more.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
My name's Mark Van Buren. My address is 4832 Keller Road. That's Hebron, Ohio, 43025. I'm here representing, I own BJCB LLC, which has a house at 4235 Mink Road. First of all, we talked about the purpose of this tower. It's also about revenue for the school district. It's revenue for Verizon as well. So when we talk about filling the needs, the school district is creating revenue off of putting a cell tower across from the residential properties. We also talked about cell towers. There are towers throughout this area. There is a tower at your road department that was put in because of the MARC system. The fire district, West Licking, shared the cost with the city of Pataskala to put the MARC's tower at that location. And one of the reasons it went there is because the mark system could not get into the Licking Heights School District. And that's a two-way radio throughout the state of Ohio that emergency systems use. That was also designed to put cell tower on top of it, or to put the equipment for cell phones. So there is a tower down the road that could be used, and it could also help City of Pataskala on revenue sources. I don't know if there's anybody here from the school board at this meeting, but if they really want the cell tower, move it back by the football fields, keep it away from the residential structures. Nobody wants to look out and see a cell tower. And I understand there's gap in coverages. I have AT&T, my phone works fine, and that's good. Some people have Verizon's, maybe it doesn't work as well. It's that way throughout this community. We talked about buffering. You know, it's awful nice if you're gonna put a 6-foot plant in front of a 145-foot tower. You're gonna see the tower. You're gonna see that what's hanging off of that tower. And once again, if they want to do it, if the school board is so dead set that they wanna put a tower in a residential area, put it back by the football fields or somewhere. If it's that safe, put it back somewhere else. Keep it away from that road. That interchange Cable and Main Street, it's probably far enough from it, but someday there's gonna be major improvements to that, either roundabout or something someday. So do you want a cell tower right next to that? There's a reason why we have zoning. And the zoning is for rural residential, which is that whole area, you can't put a cell tower. And the people who wrote the zoning thought about that, saying, we probably don't want cell towers in rural residential areas. That's really what I have to say. I really don't want a cell tower across from my house. Basically, 200 feet across from it. And I don't know who would want that. So I respectfully ask you to turn down this variance. They went through 14 different places, they said. So most people don't want these in their backyards. And I don't want one in front of my house. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, Mark, can I ask you a question before you
Yes,
sit
sir.
down? What do you know about the revenue for the school district?
The only reason I'm saying that is, I'm sure the school district isn't signing a lease and not getting something from it. I mean, do you have a copy of the lease with it show on there, how much they're getting?
I looked through it, and I didn't see any figures.
If the school district is giving this land away, shame on them. Okay, because that's public land. They're getting a payment to have that tower put on there. They have to. If not, we need new school board members. I mean, think about it. And that's why they're doing it. They're sitting on a piece of property that's away from their school buildings, away from their athletic fields. They don't care if it's across the road from houses. That's my issue with the school board. Why don't they put it back by their schools? I can tell you why they don't want it back there. And why didn't they at the very beginning, at the first offer, say, yeah, put it here? No, they didn't. They're getting paid for this. They have to be.
But you don't have any intimate knowledge about what that
I do
is.
not, but it'd be interesting to ask the cell tower company.
Yeah.
If they can share that. It should be public information, public record.
One more question for you.
Yes, sir.
That Mark's Tower you're talking
Yes,
about? That's down at the transportation
Yes.
facility on Mink,
yeah,
just north of the tracks. How
Yes.
tall is that one, do you know?
I don't know. I know when it was built, we were hoping, because I sit on the fire board, we were hoping that we could lease out space to cell towers, to cell phones. And it may not be exactly where they wanted, but there is a tower down there.
Yeah.
And it was put in because of the mark system, because the fire and they couldn't talk to each other and they got it by the schools.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other speakers?
That's it.
Thank you. No problem. Would you care to come up and respond?
Yes, thank you. Alright, so one of the, I'll kind of work backwards. So for the lease agreement, it is in the packet. It's APC Towers, the numbering starts at page 7. And it does have the payment in there. So it's, the rent is $1,000 a month. So Local entities do not have jurisdiction to regulate towers based on radio frequency emissions. That is limited to the FCC. So any tower has to comply with FCC radio frequency emissions, but it can't be regulated at the local level. So I understand that there is a great deal of concern about that. I'm not trying to belittle that. I'm just trying to explain what the law is on that point. In terms of property value, again, I am sympathetic to concerns about it, but we did not have anything in here that was actual evidence of a diminished property value just due to the mere existence of a cell tower. And then with regard to the tower on city property, if it was adequate to fill the gap in coverage, you indicated that it was a half mile to a mile away. That would not be adequate. I think as we try to emphasize a few times, if there was an existing structure that would fill the gap in coverage, they would do it. It would be much faster and much cheaper. So do you have any further questions for me based on the comments that you've heard?
Is it,
Was there any proposal to put that on back in the school? Was that ever discussed?
I was not part of the discussions for the location, so I will have Scott come back up here on that.
I wasn't part of that conversation, but I did ask that as well. The indication that I was given was that this was the only location that made sense for the school from a siting perspective, access to utilities, access to infrastructure, without burdening the property further with an access road or other utility easements. So this is the direction that the school asked us to take.
In consideration of the tower that he was speaking of earlier, that's down by the transportation area. Thank you. Why can't I see his transportation? Was that ever a consideration, or was that ever thought of or talked about? The smart
Yeah,
tower.
so, wireless networks, like Verizon's wireless network, are very specifically engineered, almost with a surgical precision in terms of where sites go. It's a cellular design, and this fits inside of a polygon of gap, right? So this is the highest concentration of usage with the lowest level of signal. The search ring for this area that was given to us was about a quarter mile, so about half a mile around, a quarter mile radius in either direction. It really limited where this site was targeted to go. We took into account all the surrounding areas. We think this is harmonious with the greater parcel and the school itself. This is where it ended up. After great thought and review.
And if I could bring your attention to the gap in coverage map in your packet, it's pages 44 and 45. Anywhere that there's a little black dot, that is an existing tower. And so that shows the limitations of the existing antennas. So I'm not sure, I'm not familiar with your city, I apologize, so I'm not sure where the tower is that you're referring to, but it's likely one of those.
No, it's only half a mile too. It's only.
Yeah.
it's between Havens and
The what?
It's between Havens and Broad Street, Havens Corners and Broad Street, off of Mink.
I mean, a quarter mile. That's I don't know.
If you look at how
I mean, that's pretty dang small. Okay, I mean.
I would agree.
Okay, so it doesn't seem realistic to me. I'm sorry.
If you look at how the sites are currently laid out, right, you see they kind of circle the Meta South. That was just the name of the site. So they're almost equidistant to that centroid, to that point. And that's the way that you resolve this gap in service. If you were to place it even a mile south, half a mile south, it would create a destructive interference between the signal of the other site that's on the south side of that map. That overlapping coverage is actually detrimental. So the placement needs to be almost equidistant. It's called cell edge, and it's a matter of how the signal works. So you put it in between as close as usage in spacing. So this is what very well sited. It, potentially could move maybe a few 500 feet to the south. But even then, there was no viable zoning that complied with a conditional use permit.
nice or bad? Where,
You know, the
which way
staff
is
report
Broad?
notes that wireless facilities
What's
are not
that?
ordinarily permitted
Which
in
way is
that
Broad?
residential district, but the
Broad Street?
circumstances
Yeah.
supporting this variance are compelling.
Right there.
The need for usage is practical.
I'm not arguing the need for better better cell service, especially at a school, because you know, we've all watched the news and everything else, but there's other, I mean, that's my concern, was it's more the school than it is, people in their house down the street, but is there other ways there's other ways to boost signal than putting a 150-foot tower in, is there
Yeah.
not?
No, you're right about that, and it
Okay.
is the broader area as well.
Right, so
It's not just the usage inside of the school, that is one of the primary drivers, events, football, school events, and school day-to-day, but it's not the only event. I think with some of the data center operations in the area, we saw some forecasted growth, trending growth, and that's really led us to this location. You know, wireless towers aren't like, the use isn't, the same where it would be easily relocated to another zoning district. You know, if we move to another zoning district or out of this area, it would potentially not resolve the underlying gap. And that's really why we're here to resolve that gap.
I'm trying, yeah, and I understand that, I'm trying to, we've got neighbors, right, you know, this is convenient spot for the school, but there's gotta, but I don't know if it's the most convenient spot for the community. Is my,
It's hard to not put it in, you know, proximity to a house in any jurisdiction.
Well,
I can tell you that this is
I'm not
the least
saying it's
intrusive
next
site
to a
I've probably
house,
spoken
but-
at a zoning meeting in a very long time.
there's other locations within the school grounds. It's just convenient for the school there, is what I'm,
We knocked on every door.
no, the school agreed,
Yeah,
right? But they only agreed to that location.
correct.
Okay.
Is it common, I don't know for which of you this is the best question, but is it common for cell towers to be placed on school grounds?
Very common. Thousands of towers across the country.
It's often actually, they approach generally the city or township and then the school districts first. Try to work with the local government entity. But yeah, most of the ones that we work with are on school property.
And unfortunately, due to recent circumstances, you know, that won't talk about, schools have approached us to build on their property to increase the coverage. It's very critical. 90% of 911 calls come in 911. 911 come in over wireless.
And do you do studies? It seems like you've been through this multiple times. Do you do studies on property value?
Have we done them?
Yep.
We have not done them, but I've never seen any actual expert report from anyone that says it actually has any significant impact on property value. I think it's become very common. Most people don't actually notice when they see cell towers anymore. It's kind of like telephone poles. When those first started going in, people freaked out and said it was going to decrease their property values, and now we just don't even notice them anymore. They're just normal. So that has shifted. It's become normal. And in some places, it actually can help because they have better coverage if someone's trying to work from home.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm good with the use, but I just don't like the location.
Yeah. Right on that corner. Any other thoughts, questions for staff or anything? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to go into the findings and facts. Findings and facts for use application VA-26-005. A, whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return, or if there can be a beneficial use of the property. Yes, there could be. Whether there are unique physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property being developed in strict conformity with the zoning regulations such that a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. I don't think, I would say no to that. There's no physical circumstances or conditions really. I mean, for this use, I guess.
No.
Yeah, I would say with no. C, whether the variance requested is substantial. And I mean, yeah, I would say yes, because it's completely changing the use of the property. We're okay with yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. D, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or the adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. It would not damage the properties next to them or anything. I would say no to that. E, whether the variance if granted will substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent property. I would say no there. F, whether the variance if granted will be detrimental to the public welfare. I don't see how it would be detrimental there. G, whether the variance if granted will adversely affect the delivery of government services. Nope, should have no effect. H, whether the property owner purchased the subject property with the knowledge of the zoning restrictions. I mean, it's the school district's zoning, I think that they were aware of. I would say yes to that. Are you comfortable with yes?
Mm-hmm.
It fits. It's a weird one.
Yeah,
They're not here.
they're not here. Whether the property owner's predicament can be alleviated through some other method other than variance. No, it could not be. Whether the variance if granted would represent the minimum variance that would afford relief and represent the least modification possible of the requirement at issue. I would say yes, I'd be there.
Yeah, based on this.
Yeah. And K, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice be done by granting the variance. I feel this is no. I don't know. What are your thoughts? The actual zoning requirement.
Specific to the zoning requirement, yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
no as well.
Other thoughts?
I mean, in that location, I don't know. I'm on the fence.
I'm on the fence with it, but the way that it's currently zoned, I would say, I feel like no, that would not
I mean, it's gonna
observed.
be residential anywhere around there.
Right. So, are we okay with no, or do we think yes?
I'm gonna.
I'm fine with no.
Okay, I would say no. Additional factors. The applicant or owner created the alleged hardship. No, they did not. B, the board finds that the application is primarily made for purposes of convenience or profit, or whether there are unique physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property being developed in strict conformity with the zoning regulations, such that a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property.
They're not making a,
Profit
they're
on
not
it.
killing on it, no.
No,
It's
I'm
more-
going to say no to that one. Yeah. And C, a substantial ground offered in support of an application for the use variance is the existence of other non-conforming use of neighboring lands, structures, or buildings in the same zoning district or in other zoning districts. in that area, I don't believe there are there? Everything's pretty much rural residential. So I would say no to that. Agreed?
Yeah.
All right. So, findings and facts for variance application VA-26-005. We have yes for A, C, H, and J. And we have no for B, D, E, F, G, I, and K. And for the additional, we have no for A, B, and C. Any other comments, thoughts? Hearing none, can I get a motion, please?
I move to approve a use variance for application VA 26-005 with the following condition. The applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala and the Licking County Building Code Department within 1 year of the date of approval.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Lisa, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Danduran,
No.
Mr. Colvin,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
No?
Mr. Luzader.
No. Okay, we have a majority, no. The application has been denied at this time. Staff will be in touch with you for following up for next steps. Okay. Thank you very much. You're welcome to stay for the meeting, but you don't have to at this point. It's going to be going on for a little while. All right, moving on to variance application VA-26-006. Kayla.
The location of this application is 543 South Main Street. The zoning is R7, Village Single Family Residential, and the applicant is requesting approval of two variances, one to allow a fence to be placed within 3 feet of a public right-of-way, and one to allow a 6-foot fence to be within the front yard setback. This is a look at the property. So the property is surrounded by 3 rights-of-ways. Main Street is here to the east, Mill Street is to the south, and Wood Street is to the west. The property is about 0.3 acres in size. It is occupied by about a 1,500 square foot house located on Main Street and a 360 square foot garage located closer to Wood Street. And as mentioned before, it is surrounded by 3 rights-of-ways: Main Street, Mill Street, and Wood Street. Having 3 frontages means that all of those frontages have to adhere to the front yard setback. The proposal is to construct a 6-foot wooden privacy fence enclosing their backyard. It would connect from the side of the garage to the rear of the house, and then an existing privacy fence on the northern property line would complete the enclosure. The lower 4 feet of the fence would be solid, and the upper 2 feet of the fence would be lattice. So this is a closer look of the proposed site plan. The fence would connect from the east side of the garage over here and go down to the property line to the south, run along the property line to the south, and connect to the back of the house in the east. Section 1279.04B1A of the code states that fences built in the front yard setback cannot exceed 4 feet in height. As mentioned before, the house has frontage on 3 rights-of-ways, which means it has 3 front yards. And section 1279.04A1 of the Pataskala Code states that no fence can be built within 3 feet of a public right-of-way. The applicant believes that there are unique circumstances that prevent the property from adhering to the zoning restrictions. There would be a beneficial use of the property without the variance, and that the request would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood and would not impair the development of adjacent properties. Staff would like to offer the following comments. As mentioned before, section 1279.04B1 states that the fences built within the front yard setback cannot be higher than 4 feet. 3 front yards, Main Street, Mill Street, and Wood Street, and the setback from all 3 of those streets needs to be 25 feet. Their proposal, of course, is a 6-foot privacy set back 15 feet from the western property line on Wood Street, on the southern property line on Mill Street, and set back 50 feet from the eastern property line on Main Street. The fence would not meet the required 25-foot setback from both Wood Street and Mill Street for fences more than 4 feet in height, and so a variance is requested from section 1279.04B1A to allow for an increase of 50% the maximum allowed fence height within the front yard setback. The fence will also not meet the required 3-foot setback for all fences from the southern property line on Mill Street, and so a variance is also requested from section 1279.04A1 to allow for a 100% reduction in the required setback. Should this variance be approved, the applicant will need to submit for a fence permit with the Planning and Zoning Department. The Public Service Department would like to state that they do not think that the fence should cause a safety concern in regard to sight distance when pulling out onto Mill Street from Wood Street, but they do want to confirm this, and so that they have asked that before the fence is installed, the applicant schedule an inspection with the Public Service Department when the fence is staked out, so that the planned location is clear and the impact of the sight distance from Wood Street onto Mill Street is better understood. No other departments or agencies commented. The surrounding properties of the site, all surrounding properties are zoned R7, Village Single Family Residential, and the property is surrounded by single-family homes with some vacant land as well. These are the findings of fact located in your staff report. And then an additional findings of fact, section 1211.072, A, to permit any yard or setback less than the yard or setback required by the applicable regulation. Should the board choose to approve the applicant's request, the following conditions may be considered. 1, the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala within 1 year of the date of approval. And 2, the Public Service Department must complete an inspection after the fence is staked out but before it is built to ensure that the fence will not interfere with sight lines at the Mill Street and Wood Street intersection. And I am happy to answer any questions.
So let's say they stake out the fence line, we approve the variance to stake out the fence line, and then they go out and they realize that it's going to be an issue with sight lines. What then?
So they would be allowed to, they just can't make the variance any bigger, they're allowed to make it smaller. So if they needed to take in the fence further into the property, they would be allowed to do that without getting another variance.
So they could take, because right now it goes, they're proposing to take it off of the garage straight over to, what is that, Mill Street there, right?
Yeah.
So they could shoot back into their yard farther and then make it come across.
Yeah, if they wanted to like go somewhere in this area with the fence, if the sight lines don't work, they could do that.
Okay, and they wouldn't have to come back to the board or anything. Okay. Any other questions for staff?
No.
We've done this multiple times, I feel. Mr. or Mrs. Johnston here. Hey, would you like to come up?
If you want to speak.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, yes.
Thank you.
Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Noah Johnston, 543 South Main Street, Pataskala, Ohio, 43076.
Thank you.
62, sorry, we just moved from Thornville, in October. Yeah, we're asking for this variance so that we can use the majority of our yard, have some privacy from Mill Street and also Main as well, and then also to let our dogs run safely around the backyard and have this space for them to enjoy themselves and not worry about, running, getting hit by a car or something like that going on.
Sure.
Yeah, that's kind of, we also want to bring it up to the property line, because as you can see, the road doesn't start until almost 10 feet past the property line.
Right.
And from what we can tell, there doesn't seem to be any problems with turning off of Wood Street on the Mill. Mill Street's relatively busy, Wood is not as bad, so it shouldn't be too terrible. And then also with the fence, it's not going to be a full 6-foot privacy fence. We're only gonna have 4 foot of pickets and then another 2 foot of lattice, so it's gonna be visible through it and not entirely obscure.
Okay.
Any questions for us?
Did you buy this property in October?
Yes.
It's an iconic piece of property for the city.
Pardon?
It's an iconic piece of property for the city.
Yes. Funny enough, my wife actually knows Jane Valens and was one of her students and I actually dreamed of living in this house. So when they said, "Hey, do you guys want to buy this house?" We're like, "Yes, yes, please."
Nice. And it looks like this fence it takes some of that into consideration. It's not just your run-of-the-mill. It's aesthetically sort of addressed any of the concerns.
Yeah,
I think the
it's just
neighbors would
property
agree.
lines and the setbacks are really the only problem that we have.
Yes, sir.
And I'm gonna ask just because we're gonna wanna know later, were you aware of the zoning regulations when you purchased the property?
No, I did not read the zoning regulations. I had access to them, yes, but I did not read once when we purchased the property.
Yeah.
It was more, hey, let's buy the house and then we'll figure out what we need to do once we get into the house.
Especially that quickly, yes, very good.
Yes, yes.
Understood. Good, thank you. Any other questions?
Just, you're aware you may have to do a little tweaking if they do say it, so
Yeah,
you're aware
if
of
the
that.
sightlines from
Yeah.
wood are not what the search department wants, then that can be adjusted.
All right, thank you very much. You can have a seat. Any other comments or questions? This one we've done multiple times. Right into findings and facts for variance application VA-26-006. A, whether the property in question will yield reasonable return or if there can be a beneficial use of the property. I would say yes to that. B, whether there are unique physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property being developed in strict conformity with the zoning regulations, such that a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. I'm okay with yes there. I think to get a good sized yard or a usable yard, you want that where it's at. C, whether the variance requested is substantial. I would say what we've done in the past, I would say yes there. D, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or the adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. I don't see how it could. I think it's going to improve.
Agreed.
E, whether the variance, if granted, will substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent properties. No, I don't think it would. F, whether the variance, if granted, will be detrimental to public welfare. I don't see how that could be, so I would say no. G, whether the variance, if granted, would adversely affect the delivery of government services. I would say no to that. H, whether the property owner purchased the subject property with the knowledge of the zoning restrictions. Nope. I, whether the property owner's predicament can be alleviated through some other method other than a variance. I mean, technically, we could build a smaller fence.
Still probably need a variance for it, though.
Yeah, probably still need a variance for it, the way that, with the setbacks and everything. So I'm gonna say whether the property owner's community, and no, it cannot be. So no. J, whether the variance, if granted, would represent the minimum variance that would afford relief and represent the least modification possible of the requirement at issue. I would say yes to that. And K, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirements would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance.
Yes.
I say yes to that as well. So, variance application VA-26-006, findings and facts, we have yes for A, B, C, J, and K, no for D, E, F, G, H, and I. Any other comments or suggestions? Hearing none, can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the variance application VA 26-006 with the following conditions. Applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala within 1 year of the date of approval. The Public Service Department must complete an inspection after the fence is staked out, but before it is built to ensure that the fence will not interfere with sight lines from Mill Street and Wood Street intersection.
We have a motion on the table. Can I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll, please.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes?
Mr. Luzader?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderin?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Thank you. The yeses have it. Your variance application has been approved. Good luck with your fence. You may stay for the rest of the meeting if you like, but you don't have to. Thank you very much. All right. Go ahead and move on. Variance application VA-26-007, Michaela.
The location of this variance is 138 Merritt Road. The zoning is R87, medium low density residential, and the applicant is requesting approval of a variance from section 1221.05 D4 to allow for 2 accessory buildings to be located on a lot without a principal structure. This is a look at the property. So the property actually consists of 2 parcels under common ownership. The northern parcel is not the subject of this variance application, and the southern parcel over here is Merritt Road is to the west over here. The subject parcel is 0.93 acres, and again is one of 2 parcels under joint ownership. The northern parcel, which is not subject to the zoning application, is also 0.93 acres, and it's occupied by a 2,500 square foot single family home, new single family home, and a 1,000 square foot old single family home that was issued a demolition permit last year, but the demo has not been completed yet, and a 300 square foot shed. The southern parcel, which is the subject of the zoning application, is occupied by 2 accessory buildings. A 140 square foot storage shed in the west of the property and a 120 square foot shed in the east of the property. Both sheds have been installed since about 2024 and were constructed without permits. So this is a look at the site plan. The shed to the west is over here near the property line, and the shed to the east is over here near the pond. The applicant's proposal is to keep both of the sheds on a lot without a principal structure. The western shed would be set back 20 feet from the western property line and 12 feet from the northern property line, and the eastern shed is set back 90 feet from the east property line and 8 feet from the northern property line. Section 1221.05 D4 states that accessory buildings cannot be located on a lot without a principal structure. The applicant believes that the request is substantial and that the unique circumstances prevent the property from adhering to the zoning restrictions. They believe the requested variance is the minimum that would resolve the zoning issue. They believe that the property would not have a beneficial use without the variance, and the applicant was not aware of the restrictions when the property was purchased. Planning and zoning would like to offer the following comments. Section 1221.05 D4, as mentioned before, states that accessory buildings cannot be located on a lot without a principal structure. The applicant's proposal is to keep both accessory buildings on the southern lot without a principal structure, and so a variance is requested from the above mentioned section of code. The 2 sheds are 140 square feet and 120 square feet for a total square footage of buildings on the lot of 260 square feet. Should this variance be approved, the applicant will need to submit for an accessory building permit with the Planning and Zoning Department. The current accessory buildings were built without permits. The northern parcel, while not the subject of the zoning application and under common ownership, is currently also in violation of code. The new primary structure constructed in 2024 was constructed with the condition that the existing house be demolished. A demolition permit was issued, the work was never carried out, and the permit expired. The applicant would need to receive a new demolition permit to resolve this issue. The zoning inspector would like to offer the following comments. The 2 accessory buildings are already in place and were installed without an approved permit, but a code violation has not been issued for that yet. The staff became aware of the issue when the applicant was notified of the code violation for occupying the new residential structure on the northern lot without the approval of their certificate of compliance. They have a deadline of June 1st, 2026 to receive the final inspection and approval of their certificate of compliance before the code violation process is moved forward. No other departments or agencies commented. The surrounding properties are all zoned R87 and are all occupied by single-family homes. These are the findings of fact located in your staff report. And should the board choose to approve the applicant's request, the following condition may be considered. The applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the City of Pataskala and the Licking County Building Code Department within 3 months of the date of approval. And I am happy to answer any questions.
This has nothing to do with the northern property.
No, it doesn't.
Correct. It's kind of how we became aware of the issue on the southern property, because we were inspecting the northern property, so they got a permit to build a new house on the north property. As part of that, they had to tear down the existing house. You have to get a certificate of compliance from the zoning department before you can occupy a structure. It's basically our certificate of occupancy. The structure was occupied And the zoning inspector went out there to check up on it, saw it was occupied when he noticed the other zoning violations on the other property, that there was buildings constructed there as well without a permit.
So this will alleviate them from having a violation of the zoning on
One
the
of them.
southern property.
Yeah, the southern
property only.
Just the two buildings.
Just the two buildings that currently exist there. Okay. Any other questions for staff? Alright, Ms. Arnett, present? Would you like to come up? You with face Lisa, she'll swear you in.
Do you swear affirm the testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Thank you. Can we get your name and address for the record, please?
Joanna Arnett, 138 Merritt Road in Pataskala, Ohio, 43062.
Thank you. You've heard staff report.
Pardon?
You've heard the staff report. Do you have any additional comments,
I
questions?
definitely do.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I do. Basically, me and my husband, we lived in the little small house for about 15 years. And then we built the big house to accommodate my mom and my sister and all of us and my niece, all in the one big house. It was a wonderful idea. But I ended up having to bury my mom in August of 2024. I ended up having to bury my sister in August of 2025. And 2 weeks later, my husband had a diagnosis of cancer, and I had to bury my husband of 40 years on January 8, 2026. So my husband handled all of this. And I don't understand any of it. I just don't. I thought I have a big property. I know we moved them to accommodate so that the one, and I don't know this north or the south or the what shed, but the big shed, the big gray shed way in the back of the property I have 7 grandkids, all their little toys in their, you know what I mean, their 4-wheelers. My husband didn't even get to see them ride on them. You know, he bought them before he died. And I'm just at a loss. I'm really just at a loss. And then I worked with Felix. He granted me time because he understood that all of this, I didn't even open mail. You figure I was in James Cancer from August until January. I lived at the James Cancer Hospital with him. I opened absolutely no mail. I did not go home whatsoever. I had no idea what was going on, honestly. And so now I'm just not sure what to do, quite honestly. I feel my opinion, because my husband's not here to offer it, I feel we still need the big shed, and it is way in the back property. You don't even see it almost unless you really come onto the road. And the other shed is the Amish shed. It's a really nice building. And that's where we keep all the tools. My husband he was a tinkering guy, so he's got all kinds of tools and all kinds of things. And then we have a shed that my sister bought him right before she passed. That's a beautiful little shed. He put all his little fishing things in because the 7 grandkids wanted to fish. And so it's just a beautiful little gray shed. It matches exactly with the house. Now, the demolition part of it is, my husband, again, was supposed to work with the gentleman that we hired, which is my neighbor, to take down the old house. And he started it much later than he was supposed to. He did it after my husband passed and after we really honestly got on him to do it. And I've been threatening him, honestly, saying, this has got to get done. It has to be seeded, it has to be strong by June 1st. And he is dragging his feet. So at this point, I'm going to be getting a dumpster and I'm getting rid of all of it. I am going to bring these up to, especially that house, because I understand, that it looks like a disaster. I mean, it looks like just debris everywhere, plus it's not safe. So, I mean, I don't know if you can't make a decision today on the variance, if you could please just give me time, learn about zoning, understand it all, and what we can do.
Well, I think you're on the right first steps
Okay.
right now. And if we go through this and if we decide that this application can be approved, the sheds can stay the way they are.
Okay.
You'll just have to get a permit from the zoning
Absolutely.
department for them. So that's what we'll talk about today.
Okay.
The deconstruction piece is separate issue. We won't deal with that today at all. Okay. So you still have a little bit of time, at least to June 1st, to get stuff taken care of there. So, any other questions for Ms. Arnett?
Oh, sir.
No? All right. Thank you very much. You may have a seat.
Thank you.
Comments, or anything?
I don't, I mean, it sounds like she's doing the demo piece, so she's trying to fulfill that piece.
Yeah, I
so,
think-
mean,
I agree. I
her
think that
heart's in the right spot. so.
I agree. I think she's trying, just had some trying circumstances, it sounds like. So. All right, let's move to findings and facts for variance application VA-26-007. A, where the property in question will yield a reasonable return, or if there can be a beneficial use of the property. I say yes to that. B, whether there are unique physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property being developed in the strict conformity with the zoning regulations, such that a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. The way that it looks like it's laid out, I don't know that you could build much of a primary structure there. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
you'd only have one,
Yeah,
so.
you think?
You
Okay,
can have one, but you can't have two, I think that, so there's really no physical.
no physical, okay, so we say no there, right, I'm good with that. C, whether the variance requested is substantial. Well, I would say,
100% type of.
I would say, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I agree. D, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would substantially be altered, or the adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as the result of a variance. I would say no to that. E, whether the variance if granted will substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent properties. I would say no to that. F, whether the variance if granted will be detrimental to the public welfare. No. G, whether the variance if granted would adversely affect the delivery of government services. I would say no to that as well. H, whether the property owner purchased the subject property with knowledge of the rezoning restrictions. I believe they testified that no to that. I, whether the property owner's predicament can be obviated through some other method other than variance. Take them down, but
If you want to keep them, then.
I would say no, yeah. So I would say no there. J, whether the variance if granted will represent the minimum variance that will afford relief and represent the least modification possible of the requirement at issue. I believe yes, it would. And K, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance. I say yes to that as well. Okay, so findings and facts for variance application VA-26-007. We have yes for A, C, J, and K, and no for B, D, E, F, G, H, and I. Any other comments or suggestions?
No, sir.
Hearing none, could I get a motion, please?
I move to approve variance application VA 26-007 with the following conditions. The applicant shall obtain all necessary permits for the accessory buildings from the city of Pataskala and Licking County Building Code Department within 3 months of the date of approval.
Motion, could I get a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Lisa, roll please.
Mr. Janduran,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes,
Mr. Luzader,
Yes.
and yeses have it. Your variance application has been approved. You may keep the structures, but make sure you get that permit in place first, all right? Thank you folks very much. You may stay for the rest of the meeting, but you definitely don't have to. All right, moving on to variance application VA-25-008. Michaela.
The location of this variance is 3849 Ming Street Southwest. The zoning is R87, and the applicant is requesting approval of a variance to allow for a property to exceed the maximum number of 2 accessory buildings on a lot. This is a look at the property. So Main Street is over here to the west. The existing house and 2 accessory buildings are also in the east of the lot, or west of the lot. The property is 3.03 acres in total, occupied by a 1,500 square foot home on Main Street, and a just over 1,000 square foot garage north of the house, and a 200 square foot shed installed sometime in between 2009 and 2013 on the northern side of the garage. And the property has 200 feet of frontage on Main Street. The proposal is to add 2 accessory buildings, a 14-foot wide by 24-foot long shed behind or east of the current garage with a 30-foot northern setback, and a 10-foot wide by 12-foot long greenhouse south of the proposed shed with a 50-foot southern setback. The request would bring the total number of accessory buildings on the lot to 4. And according to section 1225.05 a lot may only have 2 accessory buildings. So this is a look at their proposed site plan. The proposed shed would be north is downwards. The shed would be to the east of the current garage, and then the greenhouse would be a little bit southward of that, in between the current garage and the house over here. The applicant believes that that there would be a beneficial use of the property without the variance, and they do not believe that there are physical circumstances that prevent the property from adhering to the zoning requirements. They do not believe the request is substantial, and they did not know of the zoning restrictions. Planning and zoning would like to offer the following comments. As mentioned above, section 1221.05A of the code states that the maximum number of accessory buildings allowed on the lot cannot exceed 2. Currently, there's a 1,000 square foot garage and a 200 square foot shed on the property, and they want to add a 336 square foot shed and a 220 square foot greenhouse for a total number of accessory buildings of 4, and a total area of all of those accessory buildings of about 1,904 square feet. The proposed accessory buildings meet all of the other zoning requirements. There is no maximum square footage requirement for all accessory buildings on the lot because of the lot size. Any lot greater than 2 acres in the city does not have a maximum square footage for accessory buildings. The new buildings would be used for homesteading. Several neighbors have signed forms stating that they don't oppose the proposal. And should the variance be approved, the applicant will need to apply for accessory building permits from the Planning and Zoning Department. The zoning inspector would like to comment that roosters are prohibited on parcels less than 5 acres. This is due to part of the homesteading activities that the applicant is planning is also raising chickens. 3.05 acres allows for no more than 24 chickens, and they must provide a covered and ventilated coop or shelter, and also an outdoor access area. The Licking County Health Department would like to comment that any accessory buildings, if any accessory buildings will have water hooked up to them, they may be subject to an alteration permit through the health department. And no other departments or agencies commented. The surrounding properties are all R87 and occupied by single-family homes, except to the east, which is agricultural land. Here are the findings of fact located in your staff report. And should the board choose to approve the applicant's request, the following conditions may be considered. 1, the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the City of Pataskala and the Licking County Building Code Department within 1 year of the date of approval. And 2, the applicant shall meet all requirements of Chapter 506 of the Pataskala Code for domesticated farm animals on the site. And I am happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Hearing none. Mr. Edwards, are you present? Sir, would you come up and be sworn in by Lisa there, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you. Can I get your name and address for the record,
My
please?
name's Kevin Edwards. I'm at 3849 Main Street Southwest.
Thank you. Welcome. So you've heard the staff report, and I think you've had a copy of it as well. Do you have anything to add or anything of that nature?
I don't know, just we bought the property in we're gonna homestead on it and sold our other property to our kids. My wife's retired from the post office after almost 30 years. This is just a great hobby of ours and that we practice with our family. And we were gonna just put them up, and my neighbors were like, just go and put us. No, I'm not gonna do that. So we came down and do it the right way.
We appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I'm glad it goes through.
Thank you. Good. Do we have any questions for Mr. Edwards?
Sure.
Okay. We're good for now. Thank you very much. You can have a seat. Appreciate your time. All right. Comments or thoughts? All right, hearing
I
that.
don't have too much of a concern with the size of property they have, and
Yeah, and it's kind of location.
straight right behind their house, it's not up against neighbors. I know it's.
Yeah, probably should, yes.
Yeah.
Where it's located, though, I think it would fit right in. Yeah. All right, let's move on then to findings and facts. Findings and facts for variance application VA-26-008. A, whether the property in question will yield a substantial return or if there can be a beneficial use to the property. I believe A, yes, there would be. B, whether there are unique physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property being developed in strict conformity with the zoning regulations, such that a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. I don't think there are any physical circumstances there, so I would say no to that. C, whether the variance if requested is substantial. Adding 2 more structures on, I think that is substantial. I would say yes to that. D, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered, or the adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. I would say no, they would not alter the character of the neighborhood. E, whether the variance if granted would substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent properties. I'd say no to that. F, whether the variance if granted would be detrimental to the public welfare. No, I don't see how it could be. G, whether the variance if granted would adversely affect the delivery of government services. Should have no effect on that. H, whether the property owner purchased the subject property with the knowledge of the rezoning restrictions. I believe he said no to that here just a little while ago. I, whether the property owner's predicament can be alleviated through some other method other than variance. Not if he wants to have the extra structures, I don't think he could, so I would say no to that. J, whether the variance if granted will represent the minimum variance that will afford relief and represent the least modification possible of the requirement at issue. I'm okay with yes for there. And K, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance. And I would say yes to that as well. All right, findings and facts for variance application VA-26-008. We have yes for A, C, J, and K. No for B, D, E, F, G, H, and I. And no other comments? Can I get a motion, please?
I move to approve variance application VA-26-008 with the following conditions. That the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala and the Licking County Building Code Department within 1 year of the date of approval. And 2, the applicant shall meet all requirements of Chapter 506 of the Pataskala Code for domesticated farm animals on site.
Thank you. Hearing a motion, can I get a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Lisa, can we get the roll, please?
Mr. Luzader?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes?
Mr. Dandrian?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Variance application VA-26-008 has been approved. Good luck with your homesteading. They will get in touch with you about that.
We gotta go, she just got off work.
Go right ahead. Have a great evening. Thank you for coming in.
Enjoy your retirement, man.
All right, moving on. Variance application VA 26 009. Jack.
All right. Oh, we got something going on here.
Uh-oh. You broke it.
Yeah. All right, so we are on Havens Corners Road. We are looking at two properties, zoned rural residential. The applicants are requesting approval of two variances. First is from section 122705B, the Pataskala Code, to allow for a minor subdivision that will create a lot that does not meet the minimum lot size and lot width of the rural residential zoning district. The second request is from section 1117.17C, to allow for the creation of a lot that will not have frontage on a public thoroughfare. So these are the two properties in question we're looking at. You can see the very large parcel here, farm parcel, as well as this parcel right here, just off to the east of it. So again, there's two properties, 14358 Havens Corners Road. It's currently 3.66 acres in size, zoned rural residential, occupied by a single family home. And then 14445 Havens Corners Road, that's 164.85 acres. It's split zone, rural residential and R87. However, the part that we're looking at for this variance is entirely within the rural residential zoning district. It's used for agricultural purposes, has a single family home and several agricultural buildings of various sizes. So the proposal is to perform a minor subdivision or a lot split on both of those lots. It's going to create a 0.448 acre tract from the 164 acre parcel, and then a 0.143 acre tract from the 3.66 acre parcel. That 0.448 acres is going to get combined in with the remainder of the 3.66 acre to create a 3.955 acre lot, while leaving that 0.143 acres remaining separate. So here's a look at the survey that was submitted by the applicant as part of this variance. So we have the first one, that 0.448 acres triangle here, and a 0.143 acre triangle up here. So 1227.05B states that lots in the rural residential zoning district shall be a minimum 250 feet in width throughout the lot and a lot area of not less than 5 acres. And additionally, pursuant to section 1117.17C, all lots shall have frontage on a public thoroughfare. The 0.143 acre parcel does not meet either of those minimum requirements. Here's kind of like an illustrated view here to kind of better explain it. So this triangle here is getting cut off the farm and getting merged with this smaller parcel to essentially square off that property line. This red triangle up here is getting cut off of this property and will just be left as a separate individual lot. So in the narrative statement that was submitted by the applicant, the purpose of this is to correct an unrecorded error per the applicant. When the owners of the large farm parcel sold the adjacent tract in 2010, it was agreed that the parcel boundary line would follow an existing fence. That land was surveyed as such, but was never recorded, and the proposed property line, the land was surveyed as such, but that was never recorded. The proposed new property line follows that fence line, and both property owners have agreed to this redivision of the properties. The Licking County auditor also stated, and it's attached to an email there to your staff report, that they would approve the recording of the proposed survey with the condition that should either the proposed 0.143 acre tract or the 164.85 acre parcel be sold or taken out of the trust that it's in, then a boundary survey of the entire acreage must be completed and the properties combined. Planning and zoning would offer the following comments, again pursuant to section 1227.05B in the rural residential zoning district. Every lot has to have a minimum width of 250 feet throughout and a minimum lot size of 5 acres. The proposed lot to be left as it is 0.143 acres in size and narrows to a point, so therefore technically it has a 0-foot width throughout. So the variance request is for a reduction in the minimum lot width to 0 or 100%, and a reduction in the minimum lot size from 5 acres to 0.143 acres, a reduction of up to 97.14%. Section 1117.1C states that all lots have to have frontage on a public thoroughfare. This one will not, hence they have requested a variance from this section of code. So So the other split for the 0.448 acres does not meet the minimum requirements. However, since it is being combined with an existing parcel and will eventually cease to exist, we're not really worried about that. It's only the parcel that's gonna be left separately. So we'll conditionally approve the lot split for the 0.448 acres with the condition that it has to be combined with the parcel, so it will eventually disappear. And then, as mentioned, Licking County would also conditionally approve the recording of a survey with the requirement that if either parcel is sold or taken out of the trust, they have to be a complete boundary survey. All the whole acreage has to be done and the properties combined. We did include a similar condition for the BZA to consider in the staff report there. Don't have any further comments on the application. Did not receive any comments from any other departments or agencies. Surrounding properties to the north, it's rural residential and R87 medium low density residential. Those are all agricultural uses. To the east and south are both rural residential. To the east, you have single family homes. To the south, you have agricultural. To the west side of the properties, you've got rural residential and medium low density residential, but they're all agricultural uses. There are your findings of fact for an area variance, of course, printed in your staff report as well. So should the board choose to approve the applicant's request, the following conditions may be considered. The applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala within 1 year of the date of approval. And 2, the applicant shall combine the 0.143 acre parcel referred to as tract 2 herein with the existing 164.85 acre parcel, PID listed there. If either parcel or part thereof is sold or transferred from the existing trust, this requirement shall be recorded by deed restriction or other legally binding method to be approved by the city of Pataskala. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
The reason that the small little triangle at the top, pardon my technical terms, is not being absorbed by the rest of the farm is because they would have to do a complete lot survey for all that, and that would be costly.
Yeah, they would have to do a boundary survey of the entire acreage, so 165 some acres.
Yeah, and that, yeah, I understand, okay. Questions for staff? Hearing none, Ms. Grover, are you present? Or Ms. Waggy, either or? Nobody here to speak on this one?
I'm the surveyor.
You're the surveyor?
I'm the surveyor.
Well, hey, surveyor, you want to speak on this?
Yes.
Oh, you're the owner? Okay.
You wanna go first, Ken? I don't think we need him. Okay.
Well, I mean, it'd be good to hear from the owner of the property as well, if you could come up. Yeah.
You will swear or affirm the testimony about the good truth and whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you.
And thank you. Can I get both your names and addresses for the record, please?
Bill Willis, 7563 East Main Street, Reynoldsburg, 43068.
Thank you.
Sean Bush, 5751 Wax Road, Pataskala.
Thank you. Okay, so you've heard the report from the staff, and I suppose that you've also received a copy of it as well. Anything that you have to add or clarify for it?
This has came up, my parents have owned this property for more than 50 years, and it just, the boundaries was always considered the fence lines that were there. And so when the gas line purchased a lease off the farm next door, basically the survey came through and they found that line kind of went on that diagonal. And so they came into what was believed to be my family's property. And so the squared off line across the back that creates the red triangle is what is technically on the survey as my parents' property, but the known property lines for 50 plus years have been fence lines, that's the square lines. So it's just trying to correct that issue.
Good. Thank you.
They ran the pipeline adjacent to that.
To the west side of that.
That's not bringing any controversy into this, is it?
Just the issue of
Just that.
the property line. They ran the gas line through what was believed to be my family's property.
that actually, helped discover this issue. The pipeline company come in, had a survey done, and it showed the triangular piece to the north would actually be, it would be an encroachment. And that's how, when I got involved, there was a survey that showed it like that. And in talking with everybody, there was an agreement made many years ago. And, we found evidence of an old survey, no paperwork, but the monumentation's there, and it fits the existing fence line, which both parties have agreed was the intent. And so I was called in to survey and show that.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Thank you, gentlemen. Comments or thoughts? It's been that way for, or thought it was that way originally, so.
Oh, so there's the, all right, I missed that.
Yeah.
Got
A
it.
little. All right, let's move on to findings and facts then for variance application VA-26-009. A, whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or if there can be a beneficial use to the property. Yes. B, whether there are unique physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property being developed in strict conformity with the zoning regulations, such that a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. I kind of think that the way that that triangle up at the top is going to be, that would cause it to be that way. Because if, now it's going to, if they can't do the lot split if we don't say, yes, we can have a property that doesn't have road frontage, that doesn't conform. So I say yes to B. C, whether the variance requested is substantial. I'd say no to that one.
Well, I mean, in definition it is,
Yeah.
100%, like almost 90, not 100%, it's supposed to be 5 acres versus
Yeah, and I guess you're right.
0.43.
The way that we've done it before,
I mean, it's not that.
the percentage is, so, I mean, if we go by the percentage, which we've done, had precedent for, then that would be yes, you're correct. D, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or the adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. No. E, whether the variance if granted will substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent properties. I would say no to that as well. F, whether the variance if granted will be detrimental to public welfare. No. G, whether the variance if granted would adversely affect the delivery of government services. No to that. H, whether the property owner purchased the subject property with the knowledge of the zoning restrictions. I want to say no because they,
No.
I mean, they thought it was done correctly the first time, so. I, whether the property owner's predicament can be obviated through some other method other than variance. I would say no to that. J, whether the variance if granted will represent the minimum variance that will afford relief and represent the least modification possible of the requirement at issue. I would say yes to that one. And K, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance. And I would again say yes to that. So findings and facts for variance application VA-26-009, we have yes for A, B, C, J, and K, and no for D, E, F, G, H, and I. Any other comments or thoughts? Hearing none, could I get a motion, please?
I'll move to approve the variance request for application VA 26-009 with the following conditions. The applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala within 1 year of the date of approval. And the applicant shall combine the .143 acre parcel referred to as tract 2 herein with the existing 164.85 acre parcel. If either parcel or part thereof is sold or transferred from the existing trust, this requirement shall be recorded by deed restriction or other legally binding method to be approved by the city of Pataskala.
Thank you. I have a motion. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
A motion and a second. Lisa, can we get the roll, please?
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Luzader,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Danaran.
Yes.
Thank you. Variance application VA-26009 has been approved. Thank you for, well, finding the lot split issue and getting it taken care of. So, thank you very much. You are welcome to stay, but you don't have to. All right. Well, I didn't do this originally, so I'm going to do it now.
Yeah, I just caught you in the middle. You didn't do it.
Didn't do it that time. I'm going to move to approve the findings and facts for variance application VA-26-005 as written.
Folks, we got the rest of the meeting to do. Folks, if you
Lady.
could go out into the lobby, we have the rest of the meeting. Thank you.
Gavel.
Being a high school teacher, I
Spanking the gavel.
tuned out all that all my life, so now I just don't hear the noise anymore. What did I say? Oh, yes. Approving findings and facts of variance application VA-26-00 Prive. I've made a motion to approve those. Could I get a second, please?
Second.
Motion and a second. Lisa, could I get the roll?
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Luzader,
Yes.
Mr. Danaran.
Yes.
Thank you. Variance application, findings and facts for variance application VA-26-005 has been approved. I'd like to make a motion now to approve findings and facts for variance application VA-26-006. Could I get a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll, please.
Mr. Luzader,
Yes.
Mr. Danaran,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Thank you. Findings and facts for variance application VA-26-006 have been approved. I'm going to make a motion now to approve the findings and facts for variance application 26-007. May I get a second, please?
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll, please.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Luzader,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Danaran.
Yes.
Thank you. Findings and facts for variance application VA-26-007 have been approved. And the findings and facts for variance application VA-26-008. I would like to make a motion to approve those. Could I get a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll, please.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Luzader,
Yes.
Mr. Danaran,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Findings and facts for variance application VA-26-008 have been approved. And lastly, I would like to make a motion to approve the findings and facts for variance application VA-26-009. Second, please.
Second.
Motion and a second. Miss, may I have the roll, please?
Mr. Luzader,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Danaran.
Yes.
Findings and facts for variance application VA-26-009 have been approved. So, let's see, you should have received the minutes from last month's meeting. Are there any additional comments, agendas, anything that we need to fix on it?
Good to me.
Hearing none, I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting. May I get a second, please?
Second.
Motion and a second. May I get the roll, please?
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Luzader,
Yes.
Mr. Danaran.
Yes.
Thank you. The minutes from last month's meeting have been approved. Any other business that we need to take care of today?
No, sir. Nope.
Very good. In that case, I would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting to our next meeting, which would be on Tuesday, June 9th, 2026. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll, please.
Mr. Danaran,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Luzader.
Yes.
Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned.